Digital disruption in the UAE with dubizzle.
The latest buzz in the world of technology and innovation with the UAE's latest homegrown unicorn.
Indeed, joined on the line now by the Director of Product at Bayut and dubizzle, Muneeb Farrukh. Muneeb, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So the theme of this series is digital disruption here in the UAE. Today we turn the spotlight on your world, which is product-driven organisations. So let's start with a definition, if we can, first of all, Muneeb. When I think of dubizzle and Bayut, I don't think of you as being a product company in the way that, say, Nestle is a product company or Mercedes is a product company. So in your world, in the digital world, how do you define products?
So in the digital world, we tend to look at products the same way that different consumer or commodity product companies look at their products. So we have a complete product management process the same way that any other firm, such as Nestle, such as Mercedes would have. In fact, the idea of product management in tech has evolved from the early 1931s, when Neil McElroy, the then CEO of P&G, basically introduced the concept of product management. And it's the same concept that has evolved over the years. And that's what tech has generally adopted as well.
Okay, I'm not quite old enough to remember 1931, but I am older than you. I was born in the 1970s. And I'm old-fashioned. So when I think of product, I think of things that are going to hurt if you drop them on your foot. Physical things. But of course, you live in the digital world. So give us an example that's going to make this real to me of the kind of products. When you talk about a product at Bayut and dubizzle or your other brands, what do you mean? Give me one or two examples.
So on dubizzle itself is a one big product. Jobs, for example, is one vertical, which is a product where when you search for cars, that entire niche is in itself a product. And then within these products, there are sub-products. For example, the user journey experience that you have when you're searching for different cars on the platform, when you're searching for properties on the platform. So each of these offerings are basically what we think of as products. So these are virtual products. I agree that these are not physical products, so the definition sort of changes.
Now I understand it because I've got the receipts to prove it. So when I sold my car using dubizzle Pro and I paid you 2,500 dirhams, I think it was, that was me buying a product from you.
Yeah.
Okay. So conceptually, we know what we're talking about in terms of products now. When we go back to this theme of digital disruption, and Bayut and dubizzle have already been a disruptor, but this market, it's constantly changing. How do you approach the idea of innovation, whether it's on the real estate side, whether it's a classified side, or something completely new? So
I believe that innovation itself generally comes from listening closely to user feedback, listening to what users are, what user need there is out there, and we closely listen to the different channels that we have that allow us to connect with our consumers. And we have to keep an eye on trends that are emerging, trends that are changing, and based on that, whenever we tend to evaluate products by doing soft launches, and when something clicks, that's where innovation occurs.
What's in the pipeline at the moment? Clearly there's confidentiality around this and you can't let us know precisely what's in the box, but the kind of things that you and the team are looking at the moment.
So we're looking at a lot of different things. I don't think it would be justice to just fit to talk about all of the things that we're working on in this short segment, but just to give you an idea, we're working on improving the browser experience. We're working on improving the niche experiences on the platform. For example, there should be a completely different experience for people who are looking for cars and then people who are looking for goods. And within goods as well, people who look for mobile phones versus people who look for furniture. The entire experience needs to be very different for each of these silos. And that's something that has been keeping us busy. And then again, based on the feedback that we've gotten and based on the trends that we're seeing, we are moving to different products such as service fulfillment.
Okay, well, talk to me about that. Because again, most of us have a sense of what dubizzle is and what it does. And most of us have a sense of Bayut and what it is and what it does. But when you talk about different verticals like service fulfillment, what are you talking about there?
So post-pandemic, you must notice that a lot of e-commerce companies have gained traction and the e-commerce experience itself has gained traction. And post-pandemic, there's an increasing pressure on retailers to have not only offline experiences, but also focus on having good online experiences. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that we introduce a complete holistic solution where we provide the service to retailers, to people who are trying to sell on our platform, and fulfill the entire user journey by shipping the product off to the consumer when they buy on our platform.
Well, you talk about having a product differentiation strategy, and I'm interested to know how you do that, because clearly you guys are market leaders in your field, but you have competitors and worthy competitors, just as we as a radio station have competitors as well. When you look at product differentiation, how do you make that real? How do you make that tangible enough that it's going to make a difference in the mind of someone who's looking to buy or sell a second-hand car, or someone who's looking to rent an apartment in the marina?
So the only one thing that I'd like to mention over here is the fact that we are super obsessed with the consumer. We are obsessed with how the experience is going to be. And the question that we ask ourselves whenever we want to differentiate from other products is not these are the USPs, how do we differentiate ourselves, this is the competitor's product. What we do think about and what we do ask ourselves is, what does the consumer want? How do we build upon that valuable experience that's going to help consumers and that's going to address their pain points?
And when you approach that, because that's a valid strategy, and I get it, but often consumers don't really know what they want until you give it to them, do they? So how do you do the research? How do you do the market research? And how do you also just kind of blue sky thinking and come up with ideas that we never knew we wanted?
Well, we do look at trends that are emerging. We look into data. We look into the feedback that we get on our support channels. We look at social media channels that we have, and we look at the discussions that are ongoing. So we do listen to what consumers are talking about, and then we also have product testers. We have a lot of different product managers over here who are constantly in touch with consumers and customers. So we do gauge feedback, and then in order to validate our solutions, we do soft launches. We tend to roll out products and we test them out in a limited capacity, and then gain further feedback before going with big launches.
And which brings us on to my final question, which is something that we know has been popular in Silicon Valley for a long time now, which is to fail fast, to try things, to bring out a beta version. And if it works, great, you develop a second and a third and a version 2.0. And if it fails, you just shut it down quickly. How do you create a culture where failure is not only tolerated, but also encouraged?
So at dubizzle, and even at Bayut, what we do tell everyone and what we do believe in is that failure is not destination. And product management, launching products and rolling a product out is, again, there's no destination to getting a product out there. It's all a journey. So you send out something, it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't work. Then the next thing is to learn from what you sent out, learn from why a specific thing didn't work out, and then build upon that experience, build upon that learning.
Muneeb, great talking to you. Appreciate your time this morning. The voice of the Director of Product at Bayut and dubizzle, talking about digital disruption here in the UAE. Muneeb Farrukh, thanks for your time.